A game changer for, I can't think of one client who this didn't work for, specifically for clients that are diagnosed with ADHD, are this what we call time blocking. And it's scheduling your entire day from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. So like this meeting right now is time blocked. And although it's 45 minutes, I made sure I time blocked for an hour.
Awake, this is Mental Mythos, hosted by Asekho Toto. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Mental Mythos. I'm your host, Asekho Toto, and before we dive into today's incredible conversation, I have a small favor to ask. If you enjoy what you hear today, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Your feedback not only helps us improve, but also helps others discover the valuable insights we share every week. And if you find today's episode particularly inspiring or insightful, don't forget to share it with your friends, family, or anyone you think could benefit from it. Thank you for your support. It truly means the world to us. Now, let's get back into our conversation.
Who's Annie Delre and what does she do?
So I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach. What I do is teach mind and body health and wellness, right?
Yeah.
My bachelor's is in psychology and my master's is in integrative wellness coaching. So when I say I like eat, breathe, sleep this, I really do. I've been studying it for like 10 years now. And really wanting to educate my clients in that way.
So what made you being interested in psychology? Is it something that you always wanted to do?
I would say so. I grew up in quite a dysfunctional home, and also around people who suffered from addiction, and it made me really interested in mental health and why some people turn to certain coping mechanisms, but why other people turn out not struggling. Yeah.
As you said that you grew up in dysfunctional family. How was it like in terms of your mental health? At what stage did you decided that no, in a way I need to make a change and study psychology?
Well, number one, my mom had 3 kids. So there was like a lot of personalities in the house, a lot of different personalities. And we were raised pretty strict Catholics. So just also learning about that religion, I think shed a lot of light on what people are like, or could be like. And I think another thing was because of that religious beliefs, you weren't allowed to talk to anyone outside of the church or your family about your mental health. It was frowned upon to go to, let's say, a therapist. If you had a problem, you went to your priest. So I think growing up, in my opinion, I was like, that's not right. I don't think that should be the only way to help. And I remember turning 18 and going and paying for my own therapy because my parents didn't want to.
So since therapy is one of those expensive things, okay, let me rephrase my question. How was it like when you first started therapy? Was it helpful towards you?
Yeah, I was like, OMG, I am so glad there's people who this is their entire field. And that they studied it, and also just so much more hopeful of like, wow, things can get better. Things can get better. And actually there's support out there of people who actively want you to get better.
Since we have this thing in when it comes to the stigma around mental health that men don't talk about their mental well-being because they're afraid they're gonna be cold, weak, and all that stuff. So, in your own experience dealing with men, as you've mentioned that you are, I would say you're a coach to both men and women. So, how has your experience with men have been in terms of helping them?
That's a great question. Men are definitely different when it comes to mental health. Um, what I have found is not so much that men coming forward is less often, but men talking specifically about their mental health. So, and meaning, in coaching, we're all about setting goals. So men will come in and be like, I want to make more money. I want to work out. And their goals are very specific. And it's not as many men that say to me, I want to work on my communication with my partner. I noticed I'm getting really angry at work. I need to work on my anger management. Or, I'm a new father and I'm burned out and I really need help with self-care and my partner's not supportive, but I need help. So not that they never talk about those things. It's just a bit less common. But what I do is the questions that I ask, they all lead back to mental health. So I don't want to say they're forced to address it, but they get that space to address it. And I've never had a man push back with my approach. I've always had guys be like, it's good to talk about this. Thank you. This feels better.
I would assume that they saw it as a safe space to talk about it because I doubt, and I feel like I doubt that they would have said things that, like opening up with their mental health to their partner because as I've mentioned that before, they feel like they are weak, and usually often what they say can be used against them in when it comes to fights. So I applaud you for being able to recognize the problem within the society when it comes to men in mental health. So how has the experience with women then? It has it been easy talking about their own mental health?
I think some men, like, I use this phrase like word vomit. They're just so happy that someone is saying, what's going on and how can I serve you? Especially if they have partners who aren't able to give them that. So I think a lot of relief comes from what's going on? How can I help you? It happened a bit later in my career, but at what now I can say I've worked with hundreds of people. I think that brings men a lot of relief of like, okay, cool. You've done this before. So I have like faith that you're the right person to assist me with this. Something that's less common but has happened is men sharing about their sexual abuse with me, meaning they've been sexually abused. And some of them have told me I'm the first person they ever told. And some of these men are like 55 years old. So they've been living with this like sadness or grief for like 50 years or 45 years, whatever it may be. And they've never had a safe place to share that with someone. But in our session, they were able to say something that they've been holding in for years.
So when these men open up towards you about their being being abused, how is your initial reaction as a coach? Let me rephrase the question again. Not as a coach, as someone who is a woman and being told this, actually as a stranger being told by someone. How is your initial reaction towards these things?
I don't want to use the word congratulate them, but I definitely, let's say I do use the word, congratulate them on their courage to share it with me. Just immediately say, thank you for sharing that. because sometimes what I have found is the man will say it out loud and then immediately feel shame or embarrassment. And what they first should know is this is a good thing that you shared this. It should be acknowledged for that vulnerability, and especially because it's definitely a cultural thing. But what I have found is some men have tried in the past to bring it up to a parent or a partner, and they were shut down. So they're putting their heart on the line for the second time, and what they're expecting is someone to shame them immediately, as opposed to someone like me who would immediately say, "Thank you for sharing. That was really courageous."
In the conversation that you coach a lot of people from teens to old people. So as we know that there's a big stigma around mental health. So how do you address it towards teenagers? This thing around mental health, as you said, that when you are setting goals, how do you address mental health to teens? How do you make them understand that mental health is something that exists? And yeah, how do you do that?
So one of the first things is this is such a small part of your life. High school is somewhat insignificant. Unless you're going to an Ivy League school and you want a 4.0 and 200 hours of community service and these high achieving, which is fantastic. But this fight that you got into with your best friend, you won't even remember this within a few weeks. That embarrassing thing that happened in class, you will not remember that while you're sitting in a meeting. Someone is you are not going to sit down for an interview and they're going to ask, were you prom queen? They're not going to say, who did you date in high school? Because it doesn't matter. And also with the idea of, though, there are certain things that happen in childhood that plant into our heads, and not wanting to downplay that, but also letting them know, you are younger, and it is so much easier to fix this before you were an adult and you have all these experiences and you become more jaded and less hopeful. Yeah.
So, would you say that, okay, I believe that kids in nowadays are more pressured to have girlfriends, are more pressured to have boyfriends, as you said, and things about proms. So I feel like the pressure upon kids is something that has affected their mental health, and they cannot think straight. And one of the reasons why most teens commit suicide. So that's what I believe. So you wrote a book that is Shit I Wish I Knew in High School. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I wrote that when my sisters are twins. They're 18 now, but I originally wrote the book when they were freshmen in high school. So I grew up in Jersey and they're in Jersey, but I moved a few years ago to California. So I knew I was going to miss, their day to day in high school. And that word I mentioned before of word vomit, I just wanted to share anything I could with them in high school, any and everything that I think someone should know in high school. And I shared some really personal stories in it because I want to let them know that these things happen, that these things are common. Do you know what I mean? I bring up drinking alcohol, and a lot of people want to shy away from that, but it's silly to think that high school students aren't drinking alcohol, right? That's unrealistic.
Definitely.
Not encouraging the drinking of alcohol, but sharing the horrors of alcohol, because it's happening. Whether we want to admit it or not, or whether parents want to address it or not, it's happening.
I feel like also, as you've said that, and also one of the things that happens is that kids don't realize that alcohol has its own consequences. I would say that it has its own consequences. So, what did you want to achieve in writing this book? What message are you trying to portray?
Uh, I guess number one is you are not alone. Like, I promise you, high school students, majority of them feel the same way you do, have the same struggles. High school students years before you had these struggles, and high school students years after you will have this. And I think a lot of high school students, especially like going back to what you were talking about, people taking their life, they feel so alone. They think that they have it worse than everyone. They think that there's no hope. And I want students to know, like, you have other people feeling like this, and there's resources.
Mm, 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 mm. So going back to this, to the question of coaching teenagers, how do you build confidence within teenagers?
Um, so there's actually three they're very quick techniques that I like to teach people immediately, teens and adults. Immediately, because I feel like a lot of things we need to make behavior changes so they become habits, but habits don't happen overnight. So, and we're all impatient, teens and adults. So, three quick in the moment activities that I give is number one, write a list of all the compliments you've been giving, or excuse me, you've been getting, and keep a running list of that. So some people I work with are like, oh, I've never gotten a compliment, which pretty much like is not true, right? I can't think of anyone who truly has never been complimented. But if there's that pushback, I say, go ask your family and friends. Go ask your boss. You don't have to say, give me a compliment right out. What you can say is, what am I doing well? And then an activity like that, again, immediately builds some self-confidence. People are telling you what you're doing right. That's awesome. The next thing is write down your achievements. So you don't have to ask other people, just your achievements. And it doesn't have to be something like graduating school. It could be, I got a better grade because I started work, or because I started studying longer. I did something today that was out of my comfort zone. That's an achievement because you went out of your way to get out of your comfort zone.
How usually? You can continue. You can continue.
And just that the last technique is writing a letter to your future self. So writing that letter as if you've already achieved all the things that you wanted. Like, Annie, I'm so proud of you for launching that group coaching and it being a success. I'm so proud of you for starting that nonprofit that you've always wanted to start. I'm so excited for you that you published that second book. So all these like loving things to say to your future self.
Would you say it's more about self-love more than anything?
100%. I think self-love and self-confidence absolutely has to come first. I think it's a bit naive to believe that someone would love you fully when you don't love yourself.
Actually, I had a conversation with one of my guests yesterday when she brought up self-love, and I feel like self-love, we focus less on it, but we focus more on self-hatred, because when we decide to hate ourselves, we feel better. I don't know why is it, but I have this feeling that we feel better and no one can tell us otherwise.
Yeah, I get it, because what they're doing is comparing themselves constantly, especially with social media. So what they're taking in is, these are all the things I'm doing wrong. Wow, look at all the places I'm not achieving. as opposed to setting goals and looking at forward movement of like, this is the person I'm going to be. From this day forward, I'm setting this goal and I'm going to do it. Yes, I was jealous of that person, whatever, like taking your dream vacation. Instead of getting upset and angry about it, what's one step I can take today to get closer to my dream vacation, right? So not the but solution.
So you mentioned that on your bio on Podmatch, I saw that you also deal with time management, actually stress management. So what techniques can you share with an audience who are struggling with in terms of stress?
A game changer for, I can't think of one client who this didn't work for, specifically for clients that are diagnosed with ADHD, are this what we call time blocking. And it's scheduling your entire day from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. So like this meeting right now is time blocked. And although it's 45 minutes, I made sure I time blocked for an hour if anything were to happen, right? Or that I didn't have to into my next activity all frazzled. And yeah, it's a game changer. And then, I mean, there's more to it. I make them do different steps, but the general idea is looking at your day and then breaking it down like per hour or per 30 minutes, whatever it may be.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Being able to let's as you said, for example, this interview, and also that for again, my apologies for arriving late. So you timed yourself on you made yourself for free for an hour in case anything that bad that has happened. It's very interesting, and I feel like it is good for the people who are listening to this episode will be able to use this technique, and I feel like it's very interesting. It's something that I never thought of.
Great. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that. I'm glad that it resonates with you.
So before we go, what message would you like to give the audience?
One of the general ideas that I really like teaching people is only focus on what you can control and release the things you can't control. Just take those out of your mind. Don't even take brain space on the things you can't control.
I just want to say thank you so much for being able to share with us your knowledge, and being able to have being able to be an inspiration to teenagers who are struggling in high school. As I know that high school is it's a tough place, and that's a lot is going on, and you are expected to be something that you are not, and you always want to fit in, whereas you don't even fit in. So I congratulate you on the book, and hopefully you will be able to send me the link to the book so that I can add to the description.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.